So I'm setting up for my postcards, and I don't really want to have to get a new piece of cardboard every time I change surfaces. So I'm just heating this up very quickly, getting the iron out of the way so I don't stick my hands in it, and then wiping up the wax off the surface. And you can just keep doing this until the wax stops getting shiny when you put the iron on it. That means it's pretty much in the cardboard and not on the cardboard. And I probably will get a little bit of this on the back of my postcards, or my non-postcard postcards. But that's okay, because I'm going to stick these in envelopes when I send them out. So wax safety. Beeswax is supposed to melt at, I think, 150 degrees. This melting pot won't even make a dent in it at 150 degrees. So right now it's set at about 240. And you can see that it's not completely melted. There's still some hard wax in there. And this is after probably 20 minutes, maybe? 20 minutes? Yeah. So, but what I'm watching for is any smoke. If black smoke starts to wisp up from your melting pot, or if you start getting black scum around the edges where the wax is burning, it's time to dial it down. But I feel pretty confident that this is okay because there's so much solid wax left in the pot. It's not really melting very fast. So I'm laying on my base coat. Doesn't take a lot. Stay still. Remember to keep your body parts away from the wax and away from the iron. Okay, let's do that again. So I probably used a little bit too much wax that first time. Let's do it with a little bit less. Really, all I'm trying to do is just get a little bit on here so that my first layer will stick. Well, the really great part about this is I can do this base coat for little collages. Like I could do 100 of these, just lay in the base coat and then stick them on a shelf. And as I feel like collaging, I can just pull one down, heat it up, and the wax will reactivate. So that's one of the perks over doing a collage with something like matte medium. This is infinitely reactivable, if that's a word. You can reactivate this as many times as you want. The downside of that, and I'm sure we'll see an illustration of it, any day now, is that you can apply many layers and stick an iron on it and lift them all up. And if you mean to do that, it's great because you can change your mind. But if you don't mean to do it, it's horrifying. So those are my surfaces ready to be collaged. And I'm just going to go back and do the same thing. Heat this up, get rid of all the excess wax, do the next 3. Really simple. The other thing that you can do, if you're setting up multiple pieces, just apply the wax to each one. We don't care if it sets up a little bit because we're going to use a very hot iron on it and remelt it. So now, tweezers, I can just move my wax around. And that's really what I'm doing here. I'm just moving the wax with the iron, making sure that the whole card gets a little on it. And then move it out of the way and let it set up. And the reason I'm moving these out of the way is because you see this square of wax that has gone over the edges. I don't want that to stick to my chipboard. So instead, I move it out of the way and let it set up where there isn't that wax. And if there is some along this side right here, I can just remelt it and move it again. There we go. If you have just a few little spots that you need to get wax on, you can lift it from your surface and apply it to your card. And I wanted to say, I'm using this tack iron because it's big and I love it. But if you have the little clover quilting iron, little tiny triangle one, you can do the same thing with it. It's just going to take a little bit longer, but same technique, just, melt the wax and spread it around. They're kind of interchangeable. I use this one when I work, and I keep the little clover one for when I'm teaching someone how to do it, so they have an iron to play with too. Clean up for the day. I'm going to get all the wax off my surface, and then very gently I'm going to wipe down the tack iron because I don't want a bunch of wax stuck to it the next time I use it. Very gently, just wipe it off. It's okay if there's a little film of it on there. These can go into the melting pot to heat them up, and then the wax can wipe right off. Probably takes a little bit longer than I just did, but there we go. Wax just wipes right off. You can chuck them in there for a few minutes. It's not going to hurt them. They won't melt because it's not hot enough. Just stick them in and wipe them down. And that way you don't end up with crusty tweezers. Because at the worst possible time, your wax will be just hot enough to encourage the clump that's stuck to these to fall off into your collage. It's awful. Don't do that.